Right, guys. Well, it's been another year. It's almost the same spot about a year ago, maybe about 10 feet over.
Yeah,
when
we're
I met
over there.
this fine gentleman, Francois. How are you, sir? Good to
Very
see you.
good. Always
again.
good.
It's always
Good
a
to see you
pleasure
too.
come and see you. Did one of my first interviews actually with you from the Model 3 show, so I appreciate that. Thanks for taking the time to talk to me.
Always.
I've talked a lot about the Leaf, so we don't necessarily need to get into the E Plus and what's going on, but what I wanted to get your perspective is a couple of things. First of all, you guys came out with the RC, number 2, if I remember, in the world that you guys have here.
Yeah, it's
Canada?
the RC number 2. We have 6 of them.
You have 6 of them,
and number
okay.
2 right here behind us
Yeah.
is the one that we will keep in Canada.
Nice, and what's cool about it is it's got a lot of the components that you'll find in your everyday Leaf. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, exactly. Just to take a step back, which is interesting when you build a race car, right? You want to take a Maximo or 370Z, which is a good example, or a GTR, and you modify the car around inside, modify the engine and everything you built around it. Well, for this, it's the other way around. We took parts, stock parts from the Nissan Leaf. So the motor, the inverters, and the battery, the 62 kilowatt battery, and we built the car around it. So this is a full monocoque carbon fiber body, and built the frame, everything, and everything around it. And so we built a race car. So it's totally the reverse, which for us is quite interesting. It was such an interesting project for the Nismo team in Japan and Europe to build this car. It's really a project where you see engineers having fun, right? And again,
it's kind of here's some money, go have fun, build something, right?
But it's at the same time extremely serious because this is our vision for now and the future of where we want to go. It's our passion and vision for electric cars. Again, it's for our ultimate vision is zero fatalities and zero emissions.
Yeah, I caught that tagline in Detroit, which I thought was the first time I actually heard that. So that was awesome for you guys to come up with that.
Yeah.
I'm very passionate about safety and about what electrification and what the technology that's coming, not just in EVs, but in cars in general, can help solve. And certainly with EVs, it seems to be coming faster.
Absolutely, and with what we're seeing here behind us, this is our expression of our passion for racing, passion for putting the electric car out there, saying, hey, we can race these cars. They could be extremely quick, extremely powerful. And right on the side, I don't know, you guys can't see it, but right beside the Leaf Nismo RC here, we put the Leaf Plus.
Yes.
So that's an expression of our everyday electric car. So you get perfect balance. You go out, go skiing, you take the Leaf Plus. You go on a track, this is the car.
There you go.
So it's perfect balance here, and we really want to show both visions here. And in terms of the car, so we got 2 stock Leaf motors.
Okay, these are the 150 kilowatt motors?
So they put,
From the E-Plus?
correct.
Yep.
Again, it's the same motor, right?
Yep.
They all have the same motor, 40 and 60. It's just software update to make it at 160.
Oh,
okay.
Didn't know that.
So that's
something
same
new.
motor. That's the key thing is
I didn't know that.
when you want to modify and increase power on a motor, it's not you're not polishing cylinders, right? Or you're not putting a turbo. It's software, right?
And
To
keeps those
the
economies of
ultimate
scale,
capacity
too.
of that particular motor.
For sure.
So it makes it extremely simple, extremely quick, and you can change a lot of things as well. So the front end and the back end system and motor is the same on this car. So you have 2 motors.
All-wheel drive,
161 horsepower at the back, 161 at the front.
And
so
torque?
322 total horsepower, and the torque, very important.
Yep.
472.
Wow.
So foot-pounds of torque.
It'll go.
So it will go. And due to the fact that it's all carbon fiber and really a true race car, it's 1,220 kilograms.
Okay.
So really cut a lot of weight with the carbon fiber.
We were at an event last night that Nissan put on for some media, go-karting kind of fun thing, where they actually revealed this, and I had an opportunity to climb into it. I'm not the skinniest guy on the planet, so I did have to kind of nudge myself in. But all carbon fiber, you can see the lightweight materials in those, the detachable steering wheel, all that stuff for racing. So
absolutely. This guy, we were electric go-karting, right? 100% electric. This guy is quick.
I did okay.
Oh yeah.
I did okay.
Seriously, that was impressive. You were representing the EV community perfectly by kicking butt during these
Didn't
races.
win the whole thing, but I did win the group that I was finished in.
But no,
that
seriously,
way. So
you were quick. You were quick.
It was fun stuff.
Absolutely.
On the way home, I had this urge to I had to really ease off. It was hard.
You're on the edge, yeah, for sure.
Doing those turns. Well, it's great to see, everyday stuff kind of being put into the racing. We know a lot of manufacturers do that. In Detroit, the announcement about 8 more models by 2022. The zero emissions, zero fatalities. I think it's all great. What's coming from Nissan. What else can you add from a Canadian perspective as far as where you're going from electrification on there?
Yeah, well, we talked about it a little bit when we were together in Ottawa, and yes, it's the number is still right. With the Alliance, it's 12, for example, by 2022, and specifically 8 for Nissan. The question is always, okay, what are we going to actually bring to Canada, depending on the market needs, all the cars that we had, for example, the Selfie in China.
In China, that's right. Yeah.
Exactly, and
which looks like a central platform.
correct. And there's a Leaf as well.
Yes.
So there's a lot of product that we can look at, but it's a little bit too early to say, hey, we're going to bring this specific platform for Canada. But again, as you saw in the past year, we launched the IMX platform for crossover. We launched the IMS sedan platform, which you saw. So we have both platform, so you know where we're going. I don't even need to present it to you. Which is beautiful. But
exactly.
yeah. So really but I forgot to tell something key about this car. Probably everybody's just going to ask the question: does 0 to 100?
What is 0 to 100?
So 0 to 100 is an impressive 3.4.
3.4. Wow, that's pretty quick. So
that's how the quality is.
And this, you're going to be as a lead car for the Micra Cup series in Canada, is that correct?
That is correct. So 2019
car,
season, so 5th season of the Micra Cup.
Great.
We'll have that as a pace car, and we'll do some hot laps with the journalists.
Nice.
So it's really to
look
show
forward
it.
to that.
Yeah, no, it's going to be
me the invite,
quite. We'll do. And again, I don't know if I told you, but again, it's the same 62 kilowatt battery that we're using on this vehicle. So it's good. It's good test for us as well.
Good point you mentioned about the battery pack, and one quick question that I failed to ask, I think Brian, when I was down in Detroit, your counterpart, the 40 to the 62, obviously a few more cells, a little bit different packing arrangement in a very similar space.
The welding as well changed.
Okay, the welding changed.
There's a lot of packaging, the way the modular design and stacked in the car. There was some dead space in that bathtub per se, lack of a better word. So the bathtub is pretty much the same, but there's some dead space. So the way that we stacked it, the way that we designed the module and the welding, actually, the welding technology that we use makes it that it's the pack is almost the same size. It's a little bit bigger, but it's the actual same pack for the 62 kilowatt vehicle. So we've adjusted the suspension. The vehicle is a little bit higher, but the ground clearance is a little bit lower. So, but in terms of if you see it, you don't see that variance at all, which is great. Like the fact that you can really not modify the whole car going from 40 to 62. Right.
Any chemical changes to the cells, or are they still the same cells that are in the 40?
Yeah, it's the same. Yeah, it's the same
chemistry from that, and still AESC at this point.
Lithium, manganese, cobalt, and okay, exactly.
Good memory. Yeah, you still got it.
Yeah, for sure.
Excellent. And one last question. So we're looking at the RC version of the Leaf Nismo. But I do know in Japan they've come out with the street legal version of the Leaf Nismo. Any chance of that coming to Canada? Are you trying to bring one in or bring something to sell?
Yeah, it's something that we always discuss to see what we can bring to the U.S., bring to the Canadian market. I saw it in Japan last year. It's really nice because it looks exactly like a Nismo version of the GTR and the 370Z. Like all three cars looks really
color
similar.
Palette, same
exactly. The rims and everything. So it's nicely done, but there's no plans for now to bring it to Canada. But again, it's we never put a cross on it for North America
so things
yet.
Could change, and maybe a limited run or something like that.
It could change, and it's just we just launched this car, so it's just a question of okay, what's next for the Nissan Leaf, and there's always things we can do.
One last question about the E+. Any idea from when they're going to start hitting dealerships, dealer showrooms, and any ballpark pricing yet at this point? I got to ask, folks.
Oh yeah, pricing was approved.
Yeah.
So I'm a little bit less stressed,
Yeah.
but a lot of work. But it will be pricing will be launched later in the next few weeks.
Okay.
So not too far away. And for deliveries in Canada specifically, it is going to be in the spring of 2019. Okay. I always give a big gap, right? So not not because I don't want to say it really, but it's just because you never know what could happen.
The reality is,
hey, there's holes that we have at the factory with every single car that we have to look to do inspection.
Yes.
Could be longer than usual.
Okay.
You can never know. So it's always put a bigger time
and you'll
frame.
be running the 62s in the same lines as the 40s. And
Oh yeah,
correct?
actually a very good question. In Canada, it's going to be different.
Okay.
Okay. We're going to offer the SV40,
Okay.
the S62. The SV62 and the SL62.
Okay.
That's our lineup.
So
for
the 40 will come in the mid trim only,
correct.
and then the E Plus will replace the SL and
Yeah.
the lower trim.
Correct. That's strategic
interesting.
based
Okay.
on the take rate of
Yes.
what we sold in the 40
sells.
kilowatt.
Makes sense.
Yeah, the challenge is always that mix could also change when we launch a 62 kilowatt, but still, due to the fact that we sold more than 50% of our SVs, of our 40 kilowatts as SVs,
Yes.
it made sense to
Yep.
keep the SV40.
Okay. Yep, exactly. Is that the same in the U.S. as well, or are they doing something different as far as what model lines? can be
In the
available?
U.S., it's all trims.
So all three trims for
yeah,
both model lines,
S40,
both sizes.
SV40, SL40,
Yep.
so all 6 trims.
Okay,
Right.
great. So understand that, folks. In the U.S., you'll still get the SVSL in the 40 and SSVSL in the 62. In Canada, it'll just be the SV model in the 40 and then the SSVSL in the 62, if I got that right.
Perfect.
I was paying attention, even though they're tearing
There's
stuff
a lot of noise
apart
here.
around us. I'm sorry. Every time I interview this guy, they're doing something around us. I don't know what
It's
it is.
true. First interview, there was moving cars.
Oh,
They were moving cars.
That's right.
They
We
were
went
moving
out of the way.
cars.
Good memory. Anyway, well, listen. As always, a pleasure. Thank you very much for enlightening us on news, what's going on in Nissan
Absolutely, it's always a
Canada,
pleasure.
And we'll keep our eye on it. And I look forward to doing some hot laps in this thing at some point.
For sure, and we need to go electric go-karting again.
We do need to go electric go-karting, guys. If you haven't done that, find a place local to you and do it. It's awesome. I tell you.
Absolutely. It's a lot of fun, and you don't stink like gasoline
No.
after a few laps, so
That's
it's
true.
beautiful.
That's true.
Right.
Thank you, as always. Merci beaucoup.
Cheers,
All right,
thank you.
Right, guys, well, I'm here at the Kia booth, and I have, it's really a thrill to be able to meet Reg. How are you, Reg? Thank
Very
you
good,
much
yourself.
for taking the time. We started talking before we started filming, so I got all excited about this interview, but he really knows his stuff. Now, in Detroit, you guys saw me with James Bell and the Kia Niro EV, but today I want to focus on the Soul, because I didn't really talk much about it. Now they have one here that I'll climb into, and you'll see some intermixed video throughout this interview. But Reg really knows his stuff, and thank you very much for taking the time.
You're
to talk
very
to me.
welcome. It's my pleasure.
Thank you. So what can you tell us about the new Soul beyond, we were starting talking about some really deep battery stuff and the way you guys handle thermal management, and I want to get into that, but maybe give us a quick overview on your take of the new Soul.
Okay, well, the new Soul 2020, basically, we took our new Soul platform, so it is a little bit larger inside, a little more spacious, but we wanted an EV for today. So what do EV customers want for today? Well, definitely a longer range. So what we've done here, the official is not yet here, but if you take a look behind you, it says up to 385 kilometers, so the range. So we have a 65 kilowatt battery.
It's about 240 miles, 225-ish,
Yeah,
something like
yeah,
that?
about that.
Uh-huh, okay.
So we have a 65 kilowatt battery in this car.
Yep.
So
Okay.
it's still positioned in the same place under the car, so you have your full trunk space, a very low center of gravity, really nice, and improved battery cells. And right now we're shooting for 385 kilometer range, and
Nice.
that's real world range. That's not tested by us, that's tested by the Canadian government, the EPA.
Right. And these are the same packs that are in the Niro EV
Yeah,
as
it's
well.
the
Is that
exact
correct?
same
Yes.
pack that's
Okay.
in the Niro, and the Niro officially is 385 kilometer range.
great.
Okay. Also, we've done some nice new features inside for safety, avoidance collision, lane, keep assist, all these things. And also we have our 5th generation navigation. The cool thing about this
Yeah, explain that. You were telling me a little bit
this one
earlier, yeah.
is a lot of people will buy EVs. It's their first EV. They're not sure how to drive an EV. It drives a little differently. And if you know how to drive, if you're an EV driver, you can really maximize on that range. So our 5th generation navigation, which is standard in our EV Soul, no matter which trim you get, if you input your address in. Now the car, the navigation software is going to take a look at all your speed limit, your stops, your turn, but the topography of the land too. Hills, uphill, downhill.
Interesting.
Now the car is going to coach you. Okay, it's going to come up with messages when to take your foot off the gas to go into regenerative mode, how to accelerate up a hill, take your foot off the hill. So now it's going to maximize how you drive. The great thing for our customers, what they won't realize is that they are actually learning to how to drive an EV, how to maximize their range.
That's right.
And a lot of time, as you know, if you're a good EV driver, you'll leave point A, you'll get to point B, you'll look at your range, go, hey, I have more range now than I did when I left.
Or I didn't use as much as I thought I was going to use.
Exactly, because you're doing it properly. Also, if you drive an EV properly with this coaching, there's a lot less wear and tear on the brakes. Okay, the car slows down itself. So it becomes a lot of fun to drive to because the car is interactive with you. So that one is the big thing here we've done.
And that's kind of beyond what Nissan started with the Leaf, the original Leaf with the tree kind of system where you build these trees.
And
this
we have
is taking
the
it
same
to the next
thing.
level.
So this is just taking it to the next level.
Okay.
We do have the trees and all that too, which is fun to look at. We do have, you know, and the mapping on your navigation that shows you when you're in regen, what's powering the car. You know, all these things are still there, but we went that one step further.
And one thing I wanted to focus on as well was the thermal management that you guys offer. You were starting to explain some stuff, and I thought I hadn't heard before, so maybe you could go through that.
So basically, any EV car, the battery pack, a lot of people think in Canada it's the cold that affects them. Cold does not affect these batteries. What these batteries don't like is heat.
Other than range drop, but you're talking about damage to the battery.
For dense reliability, the time of life of that battery. So basically we say, okay, we're starting to have customers that use them for taxis. So they don't just use a level 1 charger at 120 or a level 2, which is fine. That will not damage the batteries. But if you constantly use the level 3, the large chargers, the industrial chargers, the faster you charge a battery, think of your computer at home or your phone. If you charge them fast, what happens to the battery? It heats up.
They get hot.
It does not kill the battery. What it does, it takes a little bit of life away from the battery. So we says, what can we do at Kia to improve that? So what we've done now, instead of just having air basically cooling this battery pack under the car, it's a sealed unit, we are running coolant lines through it. But we have a dual stage. So basically we can run a single coolant through our heat exchanger that we use for the control modules under the hood and the electric motor and all that. So that will keep it at a certain temperature. If the car notices you're on a level 3 charger or you're in a heavy regen, which the electric motor becomes a big generator alternator, we can open this valve and we have a 2-step system. Now the air conditioning system part, that heat pump now, cools the battery pack also. So you can have moderate cooling or a little more heavy cooling or more intense cooling to make sure that that battery pack stays at a stable temperature.
And that's all automated by the car itself.
This is all controlled by the car. We have temperature sensors. We take a look when we regen. It's all controlled electronically.
Ah, excellent. And that will help, obviously, for you to maintain a high manufacturer warranty that pretty well everybody's coming out with. I think you have an 8-year as well warranty on the pack and so forth. Right? Well, that's good to know that you've offered that features. As we talked about just before we filming, having that larger battery, having a bigger motor in this package versus what was there. If you've driven the old Soul, it's not a slouch. It's a pretty neat car.
It's really cool.
This is really going to fly pretty well. Do you have any specs yet on 0 to 60, 0 to 100?
No specs yet. It's still being tested.
It's a nice package. Any idea when these are going to be available on dealer showrooms?
We're looking around April.
Around April time frame.
Around
in Canada
April time.
And US, is it a similar launch?
In Canada right now, similar launch, yes.
Okay. And any idea of price points yet on these?
Not
been
yet.
Announced
Nothing
yet?
has been announced yet. It's still, we're trying to get the best price possible to be the best value on the market to give our customers, the best service.
Yeah, appreciate that. Well, we'll keep our eye out for pricing on that, and I don't think it's been announced yet on the Kia Niro as well?
No, not yet.
Not yet?
You
Okay.
will
So
probably see prices arriving mid-March.
Mid-March, okay.
And the cars should be arriving in the dealers around April.
And it's one plant that's making these. I'm not sure if the Soul falls into that category.
Yes,
It's the
same
same
thing.
So it's the
same
same Korean plant that's making these. So it's going to be a bit of a constraint allocation issue for the little bit. Do you see that as well?
we were promised that because Canada is it's a really resurging market for EVs. Like we're really growing, especially in the Quebec province.
Yes.
Huge infrastructure.
Yeah. And you have incentives, but that's another story.
Yeah, I know. Hopefully that will change.
We'll see. I don't know.
But we were promised we will get the amount of electric vehicles we need.
Okay.
We're maybe not the largest Kia market, but we're a very important Kia market.
Excellent. Okay. Well, I wish you guys all the best.
Thank you very
success.
much.
And before I let you go, now my fans know that a couple of shows ago I created a new kind of award for my show. I'm coming up on my 1-year anniversary in April for doing the show.
Great.
And I looked at all the EVs that are out there in the marketplace, and I picked the Kia Niro EV or the e-Niro, depending on what side of the pond you're on, as my pick for the 2019 EV of the year.
Well, thank you very much.
And I wanted
really
to give you this,
it.
so hold on one sec. I got a certificate here.
Yay.
Love when we do things live. So here's just a nice little accolades from the EV Revolution show for the Kia Niro EV e-Niro 2019 EV of the year. As my pick.
Well, thank you very much. It's our pleasure.
Thank you.
It makes our brand very, very proud. And one thing with the Kia brand, we're always trying to get better constantly.
Absolutely. So thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Okay,
All right, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye now.
A couple of things to point out. It's got a brand new display. It's a 10.4-inch display, which is apparently the biggest on the market, at least for this class of vehicle. And it can be split up actually into 3 views. You can look at your navigation, you can look at stats, and then you look at a radio function as well. So it's got a unique feature that you can split view the screen for looking at different elements. It looks like a redesigned cockpit from that perspective, and it's got nice backseat room. Again, this whole platform is apparently a little bit stronger. It's got a little bit better workmanship, so to give you a little more value. A little better from squeaks and rattles and that kind of stuff. I wasn't familiar with the older Soul, whether or not that was an issue for it or not, but apparently they've revamped that process just to make it a little bit tighter and nicer experience for clients. So, really nice seating position in the vehicle. It's got all the appointments that you're going to need from an electric vehicle viewpoint and use case with all the, a good combination of buttons and some touch screen capabilities. All right, guys, well, I'm excited to be here at the Mercedes booth to finally see the EQ in person. I've only been seeing it in web pages. Thanks, guys, no problem. When you're doing live stuff, that happens. And I'm here with Matt. Thanks, Matt, for taking the time to speak to me today.
Not a problem.
Now, he's the Canadian product manager for the EQ division. Did I get that right? Can I promote you to president, maybe?
Maybe eventually.
Whoever's listening, this guy deserves it. So anyway, thanks for taking the time. Can you tell us a little bit about the car? Because I've really only just seen what's on the web and what's been at some of the European car shows.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
So this is the EQC 400, and it's the first time we've got it on Canadian soil here in Canada.
Excellent.
And it's our very first all-electric vehicle under the EQ brand in the Mercedes-Benz lineup. So it's got 2 electric motors,
okay.
One at the front axle, one at the rear axle, and they combine to give it 402 horsepower.
Wow. Okay.
And 564 pound-feet of torque.
That's why we love EVs. It's that torque, right?
Beautiful
Wow,
torque.
That's a lot of torque.
The way I like to explain it, and I'm sure your viewers know very well, an EV is kind of like a crossbow. It's locked, loaded, ready to go. You push the pedal, and it takes off immediately, compared to a gas vehicle where when you push the pedal, it's kind of like a bow and arrow. You got to get locked and loaded and pull it back before you can go anywhere.
It's a great analogy. I'm going to steal that from you and use that. That's good.
Feel
Thank
free
you.
to.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
So dual motors, all-wheel drive, so going to have great handling because of EV with the low center of gravity and the battery pack, that skateboard type design.
Yep.
Handling should be very good for a vehicle of this class.
The handling dynamics are fantastic. It'll feel very, very comfortable and very nice while you're driving
Well, it should. It's a Mercedes, right? I mean,
Most
that's the way
definitely.
you guys. How big's the battery pack? Any idea of estimated range yet?
Yep, so it's an 80 kilowatt hour
80,
battery
okay.
pack. And the estimated range, we have European standard right now, which is 450 kilometers.
Okay.
And EPA standard will be available probably closer to the end of the year.
So that European's based on WLTP?
It's actually NEDC.
NEDC, okay, so they're a little aggressive in kind of giving it, so you said what, 4 and change?
Yeah, 450.
So it's probably safe to say probably in the 350 to 380, 390 range.
We can estimate.
Probably not a bad idea, at least at this point, and then we'll wait to see what officially announced. So 80 kilowatt hour charging, does it have active battery management in that, so liquid cooling or any other mechanisms?
It does. So the system is actively cooled or heated to get to optimum temperature, again, to get to the best range possible for the vehicle.
Right.
And as part of that, we have something called preconditioning with the vehicle. So when the vehicle's plugged in, you can set it to be ready to go in the morning, and it'll have the battery up to optimal temperature, so you're not actually wasting the battery charge to get to that temperature, and ultimately helps with efficiency once the battery's to...
And you'll have an app for that, as everybody does as well.
We definitely will.
Onboard charger, is that an 11 kilowatt charger, or what's the charger on?
Yep, so we're initially going to launch with the 7.4,
7.4,
but the 11
okay.
will be available shortly after launch.
Okay. And will that be an upgrade, or that'll just be, you'll start with the 7.4 and then you'll change it to 11? Is
Yeah,
that what your plan
we'll
is?
make both available.
Make both available, okay. So standard then, for an 80 kilowatt hour at 11, you're probably looking at about a 5-hour, 6-hour level 2-ish kind of thing, and
Yep.
then
On level 2, so
Yep.
we'll start out with the 7.4, it's around 8 hours. That'll come down when we add the 11 kilowatt.
Great.
And then, of course, when you go to a level 3 supercharger,
Yep.
you're looking from 10 to 80% at about 40 minutes.
Okay, and what's the highest maximum throughput you think you could put through this on a DC fast charge?
I mean, you can go as high as you
rated
like.
up to 100,
Rated
or?
up to 150, I believe.
150, so depending on obviously if it's one of the new Ionities in Europe or maybe the Electrify America or
It'll work for those.
Campaign ones, Canada ones.
Yep.
But it should be able to get close to 100 or in that range anyway to
Yep.
be able to top you up pretty quick. Now I haven't been able to look inside yet, but this is a 5-passenger, or does it have a third row as well?
Yep, it's a 5-passenger. There's
Okay.
no third row available.
Yep.
For viewers that aren't familiar with the nomenclature for Mercedes-Benz, this is the EQC, and it pretty much lines up size-wise to our GLC lineup.
Okay.
So it's a compact SUV.
Okay, excellent. And from a price point perspective, do you have any pricing has been released yet on that?
Pricing has not yet been released,
Okay.
but it will be available come start of 2020. Same timing when the vehicle will be available in the Canadian
And I was
market.
just going to ask you that. So you had mentioned before we started filming that in Europe, these things will start delivering, hitting the streets probably the latter part of this year, late fall, early winter
Yep.
of 2019, and then in Canada and I guess USA as well, North America.
Yep. So the North American launch we'll launch at the same timing as the U.S. and
Okay.
be available early 2020.
Okay, great. Well, sorry guys again for the background stuff. That's what happens when you're doing things during media day here. All kinds of stuff happens. Anyway, it's a beautiful vehicle. I wish you guys all the best of success, and I look forward to seeing one in the fall when you guys have something here for us to look at.
Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Pleasure to
Matt.
meet you.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Right, guys, my last stop today at the Canadian International Auto Show is at the Genesis booth, and they unveiled their new electrical concept car, which I'm so excited about. This is just a fantastically gorgeous car. I'm here with Patrick, who's going to tell us all about it. Hi, Patrick. Thanks very much for taking the time to
My
chat with
pleasure.
me as
Thank
well.
you.
What can you tell us about this gorgeous looking vehicle?
So this is the Essentia. It is a concept vehicle from Genesis, and it is in the format of a Gran Turismo EV coupe.
Wow.
So those classic GT proportions,
Yes.
the beautiful long hood, the extended wheelbase,
Yeah.
the swept back roofline, the gargantuan rear wheel arches, all of those great things, but of course with an EV propulsion
Who would have
system
thought of an
underneath.
EV, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the beauty of an EV is it can be effective or efficient, but it can also be fast.
True, absolutely.
So, you know, as much as there's a story here with the EV, what this car really is more of a rolling canvas. It's almost a canvas upon which rests the DNA of our future design direction. So
Excellent.
a lot of the elements that you see on this vehicle will make their way onto future Genesis production models.
Okay.
And on the EV side of things, I can say that there will be EV Genesis models in the not too distant future.
So within the next 2 to 5 years is probably a safe
I'll
bet?
leave that one to the imagination. yeah.
Okay, so yes, or it could be enough. Any specs that you can tell us that's in the concept?
So again, because it's a concept vehicle,
Right,
we
okay.
don't get into too much detail.
Sure.
Of course, any such vehicle, if it did go to production, would be
Yeah.
based on the latest and greatest technology at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But in the vision of our design team, this car would have a 0 to 60 time of less than 3 seconds. So
Wow,
gives you a sense of
wow.
what we'd be looking for in terms of the electric motor
That's
output.
ludicrous Tesla fast, so when you're into that time.
Certainly
that time
is, yeah.
zone. Yeah, it is, absolutely. Well, listen, it's a gorgeous car. I'm really excited to see you guys get into the EV game, and I know that through the quality and the process and the manufacturing strength that you guys have, you'll come out with some really great solutions, and we're looking forward to that. Anything else you wanted to say about the vehicle, or about your future electrification plans?
Again, I can't get into any details
Okay.
about our future product plans, but what I can say is that Genesis is committed to the highest possible standards of vehicle design and engineering, and what we've seen thus far with all of our products is that they all ride on custom-built platforms designed specifically to be used in luxury products. They're built in their own dedicated factory, and that same meticulous attention to detail and dedicated engineering will apply to any vehicle we build in the future, including EVs.
Wow, beautiful. Well, thank you very much for your time.
My
Appreciate
pleasure.
it. It's
Thank you very
exciting
much.
stuff. Yeah. Okay, guys. Well, I'm done wrapping up the Canadian International Auto Show here in Toronto. A lot of stuff going on. There's going to be actually a military vehicle presentation coming on here, which is pretty cool. But anyway, hope that was a good overview of some of the stuff that wasn't in Detroit. I wanted to kind of cover different stuff. I'm very excited about the electrification presence. It's much more prevalent here in Toronto than it was in Detroit. I can certainly say that. And Toronto has been at one of the forefront runners of promoting electrification for the last few years, at least since I've been coming back to the show these last 4 or 5 years. So it's great to see. Hopefully you got some cool views of some of the vehicles here. Boy, that Genesis one that's kind of took my breath away. That was kind of the showstopper for this show. I have to admit that. Just a beautiful concept. Again, it's 100% concept. What you see there was probably not going to go in production, but you know, something of a similar design from a coupe certainly could be. So anyway, thanks for tuning in to this episode of the EV Revolution Show. I very much appreciate it. All my contact information will be in the end credits coming up. Of course, I want to thank all my Patriot supporters and all my viewers for tuning in. And until next time, everybody, please stay safe, and we'll see you then. Take care.